Final update. My boyfriend flew me across the world to spend the holidays together, lavish dates, expensive gifts, the whole fairy tale. But this morning, he handed me a plane ticket and said, "Your flight leaves in 3 hours." No warning, no goodbye kiss. Just silence. All because someone leaked the truth I never meant for him to see. And now I'm flying home alone, like I was never anything more than a mistake. Living a double life while he was planning our future together. That I'd been complaining about our relationship to another guy while accepting expensive gifts and romantic gestures from him. That I'd made him look like an idiot who couldn't even tell when his own girlfriend was unhappy. So yeah, I could see why he'd want me gone. I just didn't expect it to happen so quickly and with so little drama. It felt anticlimactic, honestly. Like, 3 years should warrant more than a day of cold politeness before getting shipped back home like unwanted luggage. The ride to the airport was probably the most uncomfortable hour of my life, and that's saying something. Hayden insisted on coming with me, which I thought meant maybe he was going to change his mind or at least want to have some kind of proper goodbye. But no. He just sat there staring out the window like I wasn't even in the car. When I tried to start conversations about practical stuff, like when we'd talk again or what we were telling people about the breakup, he just gave me these one-word answers that made it clear he didn't want to discuss anything. It was like he'd already moved on completely while I was still trying to process what was happening. The airport was even worse because that's when it really hit me that this was actually over. Like, not just a fight or a rough patch, but completely finished. He walked me to security, and I kept expecting some movie moment where he'd grab my hand and say he couldn't let me go. Instead, he just stood there with his hands in his pockets, waiting for me to leave. So I tried to give him a hug goodbye, and he actually stepped back, literally moved away from me like I was contagious or something. That's when I finally started crying because the whole situation was so surreal and final, and not at all how I'd imagined this trip ending. But even my tears didn't seem to affect him. He just told me to take care of myself and walked away before I even made it through security, leaving me standing there with my boarding pass feeling like the biggest idiot in the world. And that's when I realized he probably planned this whole thing, the early flight change, the car, the cold treatment. It was all designed to get me out of his life as quickly and cleanly as possible, like I was some kind of problem that needed solving instead of someone he'd loved for 3 years. Which honestly made me angrier than sad, because who does that? Who just cut someone off that completely without even trying to work through things? I mean, yeah, I messed up, and yes, those screenshots looked terrible out of context. But relationships are supposed to survive mistakes, aren't they? People are supposed to fight for each other when things get hard instead of just giving up at the first sign of trouble. But apparently, Hayden's version of fighting for us was planning cute dates while I was secretly miserable. So maybe we were never as strong as I thought, after all. The flight home gave me way too much time to think about everything, and honestly, the more I thought about it, the less guilty I felt. Because yes, I handled things badly, and yes, I should have been more honest about my feelings, but I wasn't wrong about feeling trapped. Our relationship had become this suffocating thing where every decision had to be approved by both parties, and every conversation was about our future instead of our present. That's not love. That's control. And maybe if he'd been more interested in what I actually wanted instead of what he thought I should want, none of this would have happened. Maybe if he'd given me space to grow up instead of trying to lock me down, I wouldn't have needed to find that space somewhere else. But no. It was easier to just paint me as the villain and himself as the victim than to actually examine what went wrong between us. So fine. If he wants to tell everyone I'm some cheating monster who destroyed our perfect relationship, let him. I know the truth about what it's really like to date someone who loves the idea of you more than the actual you. I've been back home for about 2 months now, and honestly, life has been pretty good, better than good, actually. Turns out being single and free to make my own choices without checking with someone else first is exactly what I needed. I've been hanging out with my friends more, focusing on school, and yes, spending time with Remy, who's actually a really great guy when you get to know him. Way more fun and spontaneous than Hayden ever was, less serious about everything, more willing to just live in the moment instead of constantly planning some imaginary future. But apparently, the universe had other plans for my happiness, because last week everything started falling apart in ways I definitely didn't see coming. It started when I ran into Hayden's sister at the grocery store, and she looked at me like I was something she'd scraped off her shoe. Then my roommate mentioned that people were talking about me online, sharing screenshots of private conversations and calling me all kinds of names. Turns out someone had posted the entire story about what happened with me and Hayden, complete with those same screenshots that broke us up, on some relationship forum where it went completely viral. Thousands of people weighing in on my personal business, calling me everything from selfish to sociopathic. Strangers analyzing my private thoughts and deciding I'm some kind of monster for being honest about my feelings. The comments were brutal. People saying I deserved to be alone forever, that Hayden was lucky to escape someone like me, that I was everything wrong with my generation. Some even found my social media accounts and started messaging me directly with their opinions about my life choices, which is insane because these people don't even know me. They're judging an entire person based on some screenshots taken out of context during the worst moment of a relationship. But the really messed up part is how it's affecting my actual life now. Guys I try to date somehow find out about the story and ghost me immediately. Friends are acting weird around me like I might betray them too. Even my family is giving me these disappointed looks like I'm some kind of embarrassment. My mom actually asked me if the things people were saying online were true. And when I tried to explain my side, she just said, maybe I should think about why so many people had the same reaction, which felt like such a betrayal because shouldn't your own mother be on your side regardless? But the absolute worst part is what happened with Remy. Turns out he's been getting harassed online too for being the guy I cheated with. And instead of standing by me or defending what we had, he completely threw me under the bus. Told people he had no idea I was in a serious relationship and that I'd lied to him about everything. Said he felt used and manipulated and would never have gotten involved if he'd known the truth. Which is complete garbage because he knew exactly what my situation was and was fine with it until it became inconvenient for him. So now I'm sitting here completely alone while Hayden gets to be the poor victim who was betrayed by his terrible girlfriend. People are probably feeling sorry for him and telling him he's better off without me while I'm getting death threats from strangers on the internet. And honestly, I'm starting to think maybe I should have just stayed in that suffocating relationship because at least then I had someone who cared about me. Now I have nobody, and apparently, that's exactly what I deserve according to the entire world. But whatever. I'm not going to apologize for wanting freedom or for being honest about my feelings, even if honesty isn't what people want to hear.